I'm Kimberly Flecher, founder and president of Moms for America, coming to you from my office, which is obviously filled with symbols of freedom from the Founding Fathers to the Patriots Bible. Because next year, we celebrate America's 250th birthday. Even the President of the United States recognizes the significance of this year as we unite together to celebrate all the things that make America great. Ingenuity, creativity, the American dream as families united together over decades in their faith to stand for freedom. I am privileged to be able to experience it twice. I was 10 years old in 1976. I still remember what it felt like that year. It was like an explosion of patriotism, and everyone from Avon to Jack Daniels created some kind of commemorative piece to celebrate. And as you can see, I own a lot of it thanks to eBay. Well, we have something pretty special and kind of spectacular to celebrate America's birthday. It all began in 2012 when my husband, who was serving as an officer in the United States Air Force, was stationed at Pearl Harbor. We spent 3 years in Hawaii and welcomed a lot of friends who wanted to come and visit the island. And one of the places we took them was completely unique from most of the experiences in Hawaii. It was a Bedouin temple in Kailua, complete with an authentic pagoda, a beautiful pond with koi and black swans, and a very large gong that you could hit and donate $1. And I had 2 precocious boys during that time, so we donated a lot of dollars. Well, we had been there several times over those 3 years. But in 2012, as we were driving into the parking lot, after being there at least a dozen times, my 14-year-old daughter in the back of the car yelled, "Mom, Mom, that sign says Gardens of America." And I was like, "What are you talking about?" And she pointed, and sure enough, down on the ground as we were coming into the parking lot, there was a little wooden sign that said Gardens of America. We never even noticed it. And there was a road that went up to the left, so of course we went to explore. And as we drove up the road, at the top of the hill, what we found was a very large granite monument with a big American flag on the top. And then I read the inscription. In response to the promise of liberty, opportunity, justice, and the freedom of religion, we left our native lands which we so dearly loved, and coming from the farthest corners of the world, we arrived in America. We fished in her waters, farmed her fields, worked in her factories, sold her products, and realized that here in this beautiful land, we had fulfilled our hopes and dreams for ourselves and our children. Now, united as one people, we work toward our goal of living as equal Americans. God bless America and the good people who made her strong. I was so impressed with this monument. I wanted to know who put it there. When was it erected? I went down to the gift shop to ask them, and they didn't even know it was there. I went to the front gate and asked them, and they had no idea what I was talking about. I went home and I searched Google, and I couldn't find anything about this monument. A few weeks later, I took my children back to the monument as they were playing in the grass. I put my hand up on that rock, and suddenly I realized it is not about who or when. It's about why. And then the story of Joshua flooded to my memory. As he crossed the Jordan River on dry land, God told him, "Take 12 large rocks and mount them on the side of the river. So when your children come by and ask, 'Why is that monument there?' you can tell them about the miracle and they'll remember." Around the same time, the film Monumental with Kirk Cameron came out, telling about this monument in Plymouth that I didn't know was there. Most people have no idea is there. It's a matrix of liberty, explaining with every piece of this monument how our founders created freedom and how we can preserve it. And right at the very top is a woman with her hand raised pointing to heaven, and she symbolizes faith. There are monuments and memorials all over this country that are there for a why. And that's when I had the idea of Liberty Trips. A national treasure hunt, going across the country and visiting these memorials and monuments and learning the story of America through them. The people, the places, and the miraculous events that made us who we are. So we created an interactive treasure map with over 1,000 locations and in all 50 states, highlighting memorials, monuments, historic landmarks, and festivals. Hands-on history centers where families can go and experience the story of America right in their own states and backyards. And of course, we have to have a mascot. So we created a lovable little stuffy, a big old puppy named Liberty. And together with his friend Patriot the kitten, and Freedom the sparrow, Liberty takes children on a journey, experiencing these places with these lovable characters. The first book in the Where's Liberty series is Liberty Begins at Home, where children come to understand what freedom, patriotism, and liberty mean through these beloved characters. And children can take pictures of where Liberty has traveled and upload them on our Where's Liberty webpage so everybody can see where Liberty has been. And the idea is, where's Liberty? Wherever you are. The second part of our America 250 project was inspired by the friendship train. Something that you've probably never heard of, because until 2015, I hadn't. We were living in Omaha, Nebraska at the time. I was in the kitchen doing dishes and had Turner Classic Movies playing in the next room, when suddenly a newsreel came on between the films. Within minutes, I realized this is not a normal war reel. It was the story of the friendship train. It all began with Drew Parsons, a very popular national radio host out of New York City. In the fall of 1945, after World War II, Drew went over to Europe to report on the aftermath of the war. And what he saw when he arrived in France was a desperate people in a war-torn country. They'd pretty much lost everything. They were struggling to build back, and they were hungry. And what Drew saw was the communists from Russia, giving them small little bowls of soup and little crusts of bread. And he realized at that moment, whoever feeds these people, that's what they are going to become. And he came back home and he went on his radio show and he shared his experience and he said, we can do better. And then he shared his dream of 80 train cars starting in California and going across the country, gathering food and supplies for our brothers and sisters across the sea. Drew's dream became a reality in 1947 when the friendship train launched from Hollywood, California, with the likes of John Wayne and so many other great actors. They took a champagne bottle, hit it over the train, and it was off. The train followed the I-80 line, and everywhere it stopped, the American people flooded with goods from their basements, their cellars, their storehouses, whatever they could give. And people from the north and the south loaded trucks with goods to meet the train as it went through. By the time the train made it to New York City, Drew's dream of 80 train cars had turned into 240. It was welcomed by the whole entire city with a big parade and fanfare, and then the train cars were loaded onto the ship, and tons of food and precious goods were shipped over to the people of France. And the message to their brothers and sisters across the sea was this: we, the American people, have worked together to bring this food to your doorsteps. When the train cars arrived in France, the people were so grateful. Merci America signs were seen all over the country. The most amazing thing about this story is it had nothing to do with the government. This wasn't a government program. This was people of America uniting together. And all the trucks and the trains and the ships, they all were part of the effort, donating their services in this national effort of goodwill. A year later, there was a man who worked on the French railroad who wanted to show his gratitude to America in a more profound way. And he decided to do it with the Merci train. His vision was to send a train car to every single state in America. There were only 48 states at the time. Alaska and Hawaii were not states, but Hawaii contributed so much to the friendship train that they wanted to designate a train for them as well. So Hawaii and Washington, D.C. shared a train, making 49 train cars. But what did the people of France put in the cars? It wasn't food and goods or money. No, what they put in the train cars was pieces of themselves. Classic artwork, clothes, dolls, antiques and historic artifacts, items made and created with their own hands. The trains themselves were antiques. When the trains were ready to be loaded on the ship Magellan, tons of items were left on the dock because so many people wanted to thank America and they couldn't all fit in the trains. When the ship with the train cars arrived in New York City, they were met with a huge celebration. The plan was to put the trains on our rails, but the European rails are more narrow, so they had to build platforms to put the train cars on. And once they built those platforms, the trains were off. And every single state welcomed them with parades and celebrations, so excited to see what would be in their train. I found an article highlighting the train in North Dakota, and I wanted to go see it. And then as I started to think about when I would go, I realized, wait a minute, every single state has a train. So I went to look up where the Nebraska train was. That is when my heart broke. After the Nebraska train arrived and the party was over, the train was shunted from one place to another, from the State Historical Society to the 40 and 8 Society, and finally ended up in a playground in Lincoln, Nebraska. Over the next 25 years, the train slowly deteriorated, and the Park Service, realizing that it needed to be repaired and refurbished, tried to give it to the State Historical Society, who didn't want it. Several other organizations and associations. No one wanted it. And so they threw their hands up in the air and sold the train to a junkyard for $47. The junkyard converted it into a shed. And when it became too worn for use, this historic, antique World War I train was dismantled and the metal sold for scrap. And I realized that is exactly what is happening in America. We don't understand the treasure that we have, what America is about, why it's worth fighting for. We disregard the founding families and all those who sacrificed so much to preserve our freedoms. America 250 is our opportunity to reset everything, to ignite a resurgence of patriotism, unite us again together as a people around those symbols and those stories that unite us, that made us the freest, most prosperous nation on earth. And so with that theme of that hidden monument in Hawaii and the inspiration of the Friendship and Mercy trains, we are launching the America 250 tour and Liberty Trips. This time, it'll be a convoy with our Liberty Trips bus, a Moms for America bus, 5 semi-trucks carrying America's Wall of Honor, symbolizing in beautiful artwork all 4 branches of government, first responders, and the presidential seal right in the middle of the wall. We're creating little patriot villages as we go to 50 states in 50 weeks in 2026, starting with a red carpet kickoff in Hollywood, California, and visiting the southern states in the cold months, the northern states in the hot months, and driving right through the Midwest in the fall and ending in New York City with a big finale. As part of the tour, we have identified 26 iconic locations that have a state connection and were instrumental in creating the American experience. In Florida, it's Space Force. In Michigan, the auto industry. From music to art to farming and ranching, all of the things that made America who we are and the land that we love. Faith, freedom, and family will be celebrated all throughout the tour. And liberty will be traveling right along with us as children from coast to coast experience the story and the dream of America. We want to invite you to be a part of this historic celebration as a corporate sponsor of Liberty Trips or through our Founder Circle. There were 56 signers to the Declaration of Independence, and in honor of them, we've created our Founder Circle, where for a gift of $100,000, you can be one of our exclusive 56 founders for the America 250 tour. As a member of our Founders Guild, you'll be listed on our Founder Circle board on our website and at every one of the events throughout the tour. You will also receive a Patriot Passport with 2 VIP experience tickets to every one of our 26 flagship events on the tour. And while Patriot Passports are not transferable, the tickets are shareable. So you can share the tickets with friends and family members to any event you're not able to attend. If you want to be part of the Founder Circle, but $100,000 is outside your giving level, that's okay, because we have 4 other Guild member levels starting at $10,000. As a member of our Founder Circle, you are laying the very foundation for this historic tour across America. The America 250 Tour is an incredible opportunity to reclaim our culture, unite us as a people, share the story of America, and celebrate the people, places, and events that made America the freest, most prosperous nation on earth. This is going to be one big, beautiful celebration, and together we can make it even bigger than 1976. I'm all in. Are you? Let's get this celebration started.